Hello, everyone. Welcome again to a new session this week. I'm Dr. Mohammed Salman, Managing Director at Trillium Sciences. And today we're going to talk about the SCImago Journal Rank, the SJR. So, what we're going to be saying today in the session is what is the SCImago or the SCImago portal, and how SJR is measured. What do SJR values indicate? What are the advantages and limitations of SJR? And what are the best practices for metric utilization? First of all, we want to add to the previous session that we discussed about impact factor. And we want to ask the same question this session as well. Why do we care about journal metrics? So journal metrics are used for journal selections. Researchers often use journal metrics to choose where to submit their work. And usually they aim for journals with high impact factor or higher impact factor to increase the visibility of their work. So the second is visibility and reach. Articles in prestigious or high impact journals are more likely to be widely read, widely cited, and even discussed in the scientific community. And this amplifies the reach of your research. So you as a researcher, you should focus or try as much as you can to target high impact journals with good metrics. The third thing is research evaluation. So academic institutions, a lot of committees and funding bodies often rely on journal metrics and ranks to assess the quality of the researcher's work. The fourth thing is grant funding and outcomes, because many grant reviewers look at the impact of previous publications at high journal or high impact journals as part of the assessment or assessing the applicant's track record. So SGR is usually found at the SCImago, or because it's Spanish, it's mentioned also as or pronounced as SCImago. So Sci is from science, and C is coming from the Spanish accent, and some even call it ski majo because it's coming from scopus, SC. So for ease, I believe we can call it SCImago. And as we mentioned, it's a website. It's well known for many researchers. And this is the link for the website. And it was launched in 2007. And one of its advantages is that it's a free open access web portal. It's based in Spain, and almost 4 or 5 institutions are responsible for this website portal and the SGR ranking or metric. All data used in this portal is extracted from the Scopus database only, no other databases. And we all know that Scopus is operated by Elsevier, and this is the homepage of SCImago Journal and Country Rank. So why Scopus? Scopus covers over 25,000 peer-reviewed journals with more than 5,000 publishers. So it's a huge database. And SCImago offers the following services, which everyone, because it's open access and free, can use these features. So the first feature is journal search. You can find a journal by its name, by its ISSN, and subject, or even publisher. But as we mentioned, it has to be in Scopus. The other feature is country ranking, which is really a unique feature, that research output and impact is available by country, not only by journal. The third thing is trend graphs. So this website tracks SJR metric changes over time. And one of the good things about this is visualization tools. You can find interactive maps, bubble charts, and comparison tools in SCImago. Another thing is the metric summary. you can see for each journal its SJR, its H index, total sites, documents per year, quartile, and other features. So what about SJR? So SJR is a metric that measures the impact of a certain journal. And SJR measures prestige, not only citations. So in the last session, we talked about impact factor and mentioned that impact factor depends entirely on citations, number of citations. So SGR is a prestige-based metric. Unlike journal impact factor, it does not only depend on how many times this journal was cited, but who is doing the citing. So citations from high prestige journals are weighted more heavily than citations from lesser known journals. So if a specific journal is cited by The Lancet or Nature several times, this counts more than citations from smaller or regional journals. And another different thing about SGR that it considers citations received in the current year compared to documents published in the previous 3 years. So it has a 3-year citation window rather than a 2-year citation window compared to GIF. SGR is normalized by the number of articles published by the journal, and this makes it fair to compare large journals that publish thousands of articles in comparison to small journals with a niche focus or a specialty. So how do we calculate SGR? Again, it's more complex than impact factor or journal impact factor because SJR is total weighted citations, and this weight is done by the committee responsible for SJR. So it's total weighted citations in a certain year, year X, to articles published in the 3 years previous, in the 3 previous years, X minus 1, 2, and 3. And these total weighted citations are divided by the total number of articles published in that 3-year window. So as mentioned, weighted citations are based on the prestige of the citing source, not only the number of citations. So what does an SGR value mean? So if you open any specific journal, you will find the SGR in the website. So the average for an SGR is 1. Journals that have an SJR above 1 means that they are above average journals and they have a high level of prestige in their subject field. So each article on average receives more citations from highly regarded journals than the field's baseline. And the field's baseline is considered 1, so it's above average, so it's above 1. If it's 1 or it equals 1, the journal is an average in prestige for its field or subject area. And this is common for well-established specialty journals with moderate influence. However, if a journal has an SJR less than 1, this indicates that it's a below average prestige in its field. Again, this doesn't mean that the journal is bad. However, it could mean that it's a new journal or a niche journal with a specific specialty, or even undercited due to its field side or a regional scope. So the first thing you look at is the SGR. Is it above 1, equal 1, or even below 1 to know its impact and its rank? However, the good thing about this website, SCImago website, that it also uses quartiles for easier interpretation. And journals are often categorized into quartiles Q1 to Q4. Q1 means it's in the top 25 in the field and it has a high prestige. Q4 means that it's in the bottom 25 and it has a lower prestige. So if we give an example, so Q1 we can find this journal has an SJR of 3.3. Q2 has an SJR of 0.57. Q3 has an SJR of 0.23, and Q4 has an SJR of 0.14. So it's really important to use the quartiles when assessing the journal you are targeting or you are referencing from through this website. So what are the advantages and limitations of SJR? The advantages of SJR are that it considers prestige, as we mentioned, not only the quantity of citations or the number of citations. So SGRs weights citations based on who is citing, not just how many citations. The second thing is that it reduces bias from high volume journals. And we see that in journal impact factor, unfortunately. Traditional metrics like journal impact factor are inflated by publishing many articles, especially if they have a general specialty, not a niche or a specialized field. And this inflation is even influenced by low impact citations. However, in SGR, high impact citations are accounted. The third thing is normalized, that SGR is normalized across specialties. It includes field normalization, allowing more comparison or more fair comparison within and across subject areas. The other thing is that SGR is publicly accessible compared to other citing metrics. And it's transparent. The full SJR database is free to access online, as we mentioned at this website link, with no subscription required. Another advantage that it offers journal comparisons, trend visualization, and country research profiles. And the most important thing, that SGR encourages researchers to publish in respected journals, not only with high citations. So it really supports quality over quantity. However, like anything, there are limitations to the use of SGR. The first is that it's dependent on the coverage of Scopus database only. Not all journals are included, which is unfair for new journals, regional journals, or even niche journals that are not available on the Scopus database. The other thing is the time lag. Newer journals or recent articles may have a low SGR until data accrue, which is the 3 years window. And it takes time to accumulate citation data. The third thing is that weighing introduces complexity. As we mentioned, it's not a simple equation. However, it's theoretically sound, but it's not easily understood by non-experts. And it really lacks full transparency on what makes a specific journal of a high weight and another of a low weight. The other thing is that self-citation is still possible. And we said in the last session that self-citation was a major drawback when we are measuring impact factor or journal impact factor. However, this issue is limited in SGR. However, it's still possible. SGR limits self-citation to reduce metric inflation. However, journals still self-cite, affecting the final score. And the last thing is that prestigious doesn't really always equal quality. There are some criticism about the reliability of journal prestige at top tiers, leading some scholars to question its use and in evaluating research excellence. So when using SGR and using the journal metrics and choosing a specific journal to publish in or to cite, do not use SGR alone. Use SGR as one part of a broader evaluation. Combine SGR with your expert judgment, with the peer reviewing process, with the article level metrics you are citing. And be cautious that comparing across different fields and unrelated specialties can be tricky. The most important thing is you should check the recency when depending on SJR, because there are some lag in SJR due to the 3-year citation window. And use the quartile ranking rather than the raw SGR for comparisons. So thank you so much for your time. Please let me know if you have any questions. Send it to me on this email, moh.salman.md@gmail.com, or in the comment section. Looking forward to see you in the next sessions. Thank you so much.